I'm addressing this to anyone who cares to listen, but in a way I'm addressing it to Alex Jones. And I guess through Alex Jones, any people in the United States who care to listen to what I have to say. I'm told I am the voice of the West, and in a sense it's true. In a sense I am a unique person, as we all are, and I'm not saying this from a position of ego, I'm saying this from a position of either the greatest lie I've ever encountered or the truth. I happen to believe it's the truth. And the reason I happen to believe it's the truth because I was there for it. What can I say? And I'm sure any one of you who've had extraordinary experiences in your life experienced the same thing. And I think that goes for just about everybody, because the human experience is a wide variety of lives. And my particular life is a curious one. I was born into the service. And I guess we would call that the British Intelligence Service, because my grandfather was an agent for a duke, and I think he travelled widely for him, including into North America. My father was a driver for an admiral coming out of service. I think he was going to be, that's a sidebar, he was going to be anyway an apprentice to a bootmaker, which I guess my grandfather thought was appropriate to get him out of the service, or into it, as the case was. Well, anyway, he got into it, went on to be a driver for an admiral between the two wars, an Admiral Stratt, whose record I think is pretty well known in British naval records and so on. I know nothing about it personally. But to cut a long story short, I was expected to be something of a useful asset, especially because I was a very imaginative child. And as we all know, imagination, to some extent, is the fulfilling of dreams that we don't find in our particular environment. And if a child is left alone and observed and even recorded, there's an extraordinary growth of collective information, because the child is putting together, joining odd dots that people have never joined before. Well, I came into the world where a man called Olaf Stapleton had written some quite incredible science fiction, and my father and the admiral, of course, the vice admiral, I believe he was, were friends and exchanged this information, and a lot of time in front of me. So I was picking a lot of it up, I suppose. The children pick up a great deal before they're able to speak about it, and in those days, children were, certainly I was, expected to be seen and not heard. And for some reason there was a stream of thoughts going through my mind. At 14, I cracked my head. Well, we moved from the country to southeast London, and we went from a essentially small town rural background where I was more an Indian than a cowboy even then. And a lot of that had come from my grandfather, who, serving the Duke, had, in the course of doing horse fancying, which is a part of what grooms, huntsmen, and people who work with horses do, chose horses for Wild Bill Cody's Wild West show. So I grew up knowing and feeling a great deal of sorrow for the way that the American Aboriginal people have been treated in the United States. To me, it was a terribly shocking thing. However, as I got to know more about history, I see it, how it fitted into the style of evil that was being brought down essentially by the money lenders and the whole issue of money, and how money had distorted real values of principle, love and harmony and quietude and leisure and happiness, and how these qualities had been blanketed from the world by the banksters, essentially, gangsters, men who, what can I say, were ready to debase their experiences in this lifetime for base pleasure or surrender to doing evil things. Now, people make the point that if enough of these people do these evil things long enough, we, the mob, the common man, will rise in protest and bring about a change. Well, that's entirely what's going on. They've succeeded. All the blue meanies and dirty tricksters have in fact got us to the point where some of us, at least, well, some of us, I'm a peacenik, and that leaves me out. You know, I guess there's a certain point where, you know, the voice of the West says, okay, well, you know, folks, I guess if it's going to be war, well, then we got to be warriors, and if we're going to be warriors, we better be impeccable. And having been through all that as a younger man, you know, I ended up with a situation in Mexico with a gun at the back of my head, at which point I guess I went into sort of temporal shock, confronting death, or not confronting, but knowing death was right behind me. At that time, you know, I put my fingers into my ears, which was the most ridiculous thing to do, I suppose. And what can I say? Surrendered myself to the Big Bang, and I didn't hear the bang, but I was there for a very long time. And I do believe that we do not leave this planet until we've achieved our mission. And you will achieve your mission, and I will achieve my mission in this lifetime to see a new age. And for that, I think we all have to be eternally grateful that there is a real and practical solution, and that is to dispense not only with the fraud of geopolitics, which was brought on by these evil people in the 322, and it was all part of Albert Pike's grandiose plan to reduce population. Well, I guess they've succeeded, because when you look at the number of detonations, and if you look at the numbers of people dying at an early age, very early age, what seems to me, I realize that the evil ones have done their evil work, and that the population of the world will, you know, decline. But it will not decline until we have experienced, almost like the joy of collective honeymoon, to know that the world has come to a truly harmonious and leisurely style of being, and that we can do that by, first of all, refusing to have any more dealings with paying taxes. If they can be removed by the government, well, let them go ahead and do that. But do not sign any of their forms. Do not sign any of these fraudulent contracts. Secondly, demand random selection of a man and a woman from each of your ridings or constituencies, or whatever you call them, for a constituents' assembly, to establish that in the United States, the ideal that all American people, and let us say better than that, all people around the world, are equal and different qualities of mind, different qualities of ability to understand, but at the same time harmonious in one thing: we all deserve and will enjoy peace in our lives. Help us here in British Columbia with our none of the above option, and we'll show you how it can be done. God bless and happy trails. Thank you very much. This is offered on behalf of myself and the Caretaker Movement of Canada, of which I am the sole member, and in that way we all retain our sovereignty and freedom, and we all got to do that. So, you know, become people in landscape. Thank you very much. Idle no more. Moving on.